with the president in Wisconsin today. New NYT, SIENA poll of Wisconsin, Biden 49, Trump 38.
Biden isn't only leading in Wisconsin. NYT, SIENA has him up in every critical swing state. In a set of polls out this morning, Michigan, Biden 47, Trump 36, Pennsylvania, Biden 50, Trump 40, Florida, Biden 47, Trump 41, Arizona, Biden 48, Trump 41, NC, Biden 49, Trump 40.
Also, Marquette poll of Wisconsin, Joe Biden 49, Donald Trump 41.
Interesting data point, in NYT, SIENA, 56% of people approve of the president's job handling the economy. This will be a useful talking point for those in the White House who have suggested the president is wasting his time talking about other issues.
Driving today, the House will vote on the Democrats' police reform bill. Speaker Nancy Pelosi will appear with Dems outside the Capitol at 10 a.m. to discuss it. The White House was, for some reason, spending energy whipping against the bill. This seems terribly counterproductive, since it will pass with or without Republicans. If a few Rs feel like they need to vote for this, why not give them a pass? D.C. statehood has a vote in the House today. Weekly jobless numbers will be out this morning. House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy has his weekly presser at 11:30 a.m.
We are roughly 2 months ahead of the party's nominating conventions, and, like with all else in today's politics, Democrats and Republicans are employing diametrically different strategies.
Republicans plan to hold their convention in Jacksonville, Florida, and they are inviting their donors and poobahs for an event celebrating President Donald Trump.
Democrats are downsizing significantly. They are saying they will anchor their 2020 convention in Milwaukee, but they are urging people not to come, and suggesting there will be satellite events elsewhere around America.
Natasha Korecki and Holly Otterbein, the Democratic National Convention in Milwaukee will host presumptive nominee Joe Biden, but delegates are encouraged not to attend in person as the party tries to manage holding its marquee event during the coronavirus pandemic.
Democrats announced on Wednesday that the convention would move from the expansive Fiserv Forum, a state-of-the-art arena where the Milwaukee Bucks basketball team plays, to the much smaller Wisconsin Center, the city's convention center. Attendees will be capped at 1,000 people, according to 3 people with knowledge of the discussions. Biden is expected to speak from the Milwaukee location, and satellite sites are to be set up for broadcasting in other cities. Politico.
Joe Salmones, the CEO of the convention, called us Wednesday evening to detail a bit more what people should expect from Democrats. He said the event would be more innovative and creative, in other words, it'll be different.
His top 3 priorities: creating a platform for Joe Biden and his running mate to introduce themselves to the American people, find a way for delegates to safely and remotely engage in the business of the convention, and use this as an organizing opportunity not only for Wisconsin, but in battleground states. On where the satellite conventions will take place, he had nothing specific on this yet, but said, increasingly presidential elections are coming down to fewer and fewer states and fewer people. We want to connect with the people we need in the places we need them. On how it will differ from previous conventions, I expect it to feel differently and I expect it is going to be appropriate to the times we are in, Salmones said. I think there will be elements that the American people have come to expect, but I think there are going to be a lot of elements that will be very different. What's next? Salmones said now that the decision has been made, convention planners can lean into the creative aspects and make sure this is as engaging and as inclusive as possible. There's no end of creative people who want to step forward and help, and I think that will be reflected in the show. Gabby Orr, Trump team looks to prevent a Tulsa-style debacle in Jacksonville. Republican officials and Trump campaign aides, some of whom have been working since last year to plan the party's convention festivities, said the disappointing Tulsa event last weekend imparted a critical lesson as they look ahead to Jacksonville, where Trump will deliver his acceptance speech as the GOP's presidential nominee in late August. Learn to manage expectations and plan for trouble. The last thing we want to do is overpromise and underdeliver, said an advisor to the Trump campaign. Obviously we wish Tulsa had not turned out the way it did, but it was a useful reminder of what we hope to avoid next time.
Mark Caputo and Chris Cadelago. Dems warm to Biden's bunker strategy.
Burgess Everett, how police reform collapsed in the Senate. After begging for a debate earlier this month, Democrats rejected a motion to bring the GOP's bill to the floor, arguing it couldn't be saved. The bill's author, Senator Tim Scott, RSC, accused Democrats of being eager to derail anything that could be seen as Republican outreach to minorities. And each party took an increasingly hardened position that makes compromise unattainable.
While at times a filibuster by the minority party creates a new round of negotiations on must-pass legislation, police reform appears to be instead going the way of past failed debates on immigration and gun control. Which is to say, perhaps only a huge public outcry will force Congress back to the table in the next 20 weeks, and even then the odds aren't great in the polarized Senate.
John Bresnahan, Sarah Ferris and Heather Caygle, Black Caucus has more power than ever. Can it deliver? This may be the most pivotal moment for the Congressional Black Caucus in its nearly 50 years of existence.
The group has never been more influential in Washington, now playing an outsized role among House Democrats and the broader party. Several CBC members are being vetted as possible vice presidential picks, and others are being talked about as future speakers. CBC members now chair 4 major House committees, with even more possible next year. And no major bill goes through the House without Democrats asking, "What does the CBC say?"
Yet it's also a tumultuous time to be Black in America, including for the CBC and the veteran lawmakers who make up its ranks. Black and minority communities have suffered inordinately from the coronavirus pandemic. The deaths of African Americans while in police custody continue to roil the nation and have turned Black Lives Matter into a global movement. And Congress, once again, appears to be paralyzed over how to confront police brutality and systemic racism.
Why you don't have rallies during pandemics. WAPO, dozens of Secret Service officers and agents told to self-quarantine after Trump's Tulsa rally, by Carol Leonig and Joshua Partlow. But there's this coming up. Trump is headlining fireworks at Mount Rushmore. Experts worry 2 things could spread, virus and wildfire, by Juliet Elperin, Daryl Fears and Josh Dawsey. Scoop from Betsy Woodruff Swan, the top deputy to Deputy Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen is leaving that office. Seth Descharme emailed colleagues that he will be leaving his post at DOJ headquarters as Principal Assistant Deputy Attorney General and returning to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, according to 2 sources familiar with the email. It is unclear what Descharme's role there will be, and who will take over his job as PADAG. While there has been friction between Main Justice and the Southern District of New York, Attorney General Bill Barr has delegated significant roles to the U.S. Attorney in EDNY, including part of the department's China initiative and coordination of tips related to the Ukraine saga. Meanwhile, while the DAG's office was a key DOJ power center in the Sessions-Rosenstein era, the Attorney General's office is much more involved in day-to-day department work under Barr and Rosen. More from Betsy and Kelly Mejdrick on the latest at DOJ. Fronts, NYT, virus surges, knocking U.S. back on ropes, WSJ, with this as the lead, virus spread accelerates across U.S. NY Post, Joe Blow, Biden suggested how to stitch up Flynn. Good Thursday morning, spotted at the White House Wednesday evening, Sean Hannity, who is interviewing the president in Wisconsin today. Ivanka Trump will be at State today with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo for the release of the 2020 Trafficking in Persons report. New 189 House Democrats have signed onto a letter to Israeli leaders like PM Benjamin Netanyahu to express deep concern that the push for unilateral annexation of territory in the West Bank after July 1 will make these goals harder to achieve. The letter signers include House Minority Leader Steny Hoyer, MD, Reps. Brad Sherman, Caliph, Greg Meeks, NY, and Ted Deutsch, Florida. House Foreign Affairs Chairman Eliot Engel of New York, down in his primary, has not signed on, per a source. Lawmakers have until this morning to sign.
Talker, GOP aghast as Trump's polls sink amid divisive racial rhetoric. It's been a bad couple weeks, by CNN's Manu Raju, Kevin Liptak, Ryan Nobles and Donald Judd. A number of top Republicans told CNN that Trump needs to change course quickly, even as they readily acknowledge he has never been prone to take such advice. He's good with the base, Senate Majority Whip John Thune, a South Dakota Republican, said Wednesday. But all of the people who are going to decide in November are the people in the middle, and I think they want the president at a time like this, to strike a more empathetic tone. Thune later added, it'll probably require not only a message that deals with substantive policy, but I think a message that conveys perhaps a different tone.
Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham, a South Carolina Republican and close ally of Trump's, said that the president's re-election ultimately depends on how the economy is performing in October. But he added, it's been a couple bad weeks, and structurally we got to up our game. Graham added, I just think sort of the cultural wars, the Democrats are on the wrong side of that. But at the end of the day, I think a little more message discipline would help.
Nancy Cook, the head of the White House Council of Economic Advisers, is departing the administration at the end of June, according to a White House official, leaving the president with one fewer senior economist in the middle of a recession. Tomas Philipson, the acting chairman of the C, took over in July 2019 after serving as a member of Trump's three-person council for almost 2 years. His background is in healthcare economics, and he previously served as the professor of public policy at the University of Chicago Harris School of Public Policy, to which he will return in the fall, the White House official said. Politico.
Coronavirus raging.
NYT, U.S. sets record for daily new cases as virus surges in South and West, more than 2 months after the United States recorded its worst day of new infections since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. The nation reached another grim milestone on Wednesday as it reported 36,880 new cases.
The number of infections indicated that the country was not only failing to contain the coronavirus, but also that the caseload was worsening, a path at odds with many other nations that have seen steady declines after an earlier peak. Cases in the United States had been on a downward trajectory after the previous high of 36,739 cases on April 24, but they have roared back in recent weeks.
The resurgence is concentrated largely in the South and West. Florida, Texas, Oklahoma and South Carolina reported their highest single-day totals on Wednesday, but case numbers have been rising in more than 20 states.
WAPO, Coronavirus Deaths Lag Behind Surging Infections But May Catch Up Soon, by Lenny Bernstein, Rachel Weiner and Joel Achenbach.
WSJ, Companies Agonize Over Reopening Timetables as COVID-19 Spreads, by Colin Eaton. Businesses from factories and offices to salons and bars, once hopeful about a smooth reopening this summer, are now grappling with whether to close, stay open or find some in-between as the number of cases of COVID-19 increases in dozens of states.
Apple Inc., which said Friday it would close nearly a dozen stores in 4 states, said Wednesday it would shut 7 more in the Houston area, where cases have doubled so far this month. Restaurants around the country that recently reopened have closed again for anywhere from 3 days of deep cleaning to 2 full weeks so staff could self-quarantine after outbreaks.
In California, where new cases reached new highs Tuesday, workers for Walt Disney Co. pressed the company to delay the planned July reopening for its theme parks in California and Florida, saying the company is forcing them into unsafe situations. Disney responded late Wednesday, saying that it would postpone the scheduled reopening of its park in Anaheim, California, which had been set for July 17.
WSJ editorial board, coping with COVID-19, fears of a resurgence of the novel coronavirus are dominating the news and spooking financial markets. The flare-ups bear watching, and preparing for, but the original lockdowns were never going to eradicate the virus short of unacceptable economic pain. The unhappy but inevitable truth is that Americans will have to learn to cope with the virus, which means trial and error and more individual responsibility.
Coronavirus cases in the U.S., more than 2.3 million, death toll, 121,117.
Trump's Thursday. The President and First Lady will depart the White House at 11 a.m. en route to the Korean War Veterans Memorial, where they will participate in a wreath-laying ceremony. Afterward, Trump will head to Joint Base Andrews en route to Green Bay, Wisc, arriving at Austin-Straubel International Airport at 1 p.m. CST. There, he'll participate in a town hall with Fox News' Sean Hannity at 1:30 p.m. Afterwards, he'll head to Marinette, Wisc, for a tour of the shipbuilding facilities at Fincantieri Marinette Marine, followed by remarks at 4 p.m.
The president will leave at 4:30 p.m. and return to Washington, landing back at the White House at 8:30 p.m.
John F. Harris column, the 6 Trump bombshells still waiting to explode.
John Bresnahan, Heather Caygle and Sarah Ferris, Engel's looming defeat sets up fight for Foreign Affairs gavel. On the Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Brad Sherman of California is next in line on the Democratic roster, although other lawmakers may seek to challenge him for the gavel, especially Representative Gregory Meeks, DNY. Sarah Ferris, Ally Mutnick and Heather Caygle on progressives winning.
WAPO's Dave Weigel and Paul Kane, black and gay candidates tap the energy of racial justice protests and push for equality in bid for electoral breakthroughs. Young black and gay candidates were heading for electoral breakthroughs this week, turning the public clamor for racial justice and equality into likely primary upsets in New York, Kentucky and Virginia.
Those results have revealed a resurgent left, which has pivoted from defeat in the Democratic presidential primary to a focus on down-ballot races. In safe blue seats, and in places where the party has tended to nominate moderates, a coalition of white liberals and non-white voters is transferring energy from the past month's protest movements into challenges of the party's establishment.
Let's allow this to be a moment where every single person in this district, and every single person in this country, feels like they are a part of our democracy, said Jamal Bowman, 44, a former middle school principal who declared victory over 16-term Representative Eliot Engel, DNY. You know what Donald Trump is more afraid of than anything else? A black man with power. WAPO.
Shot. Andrew Desiderio, GOP senator, blocked China sanctions bill he supports, at request of White House. On June 2, Senator Kevin Cramer, RND, signed on as a co-sponsor of a bill to punish China for undermining Hong Kong's independence. 2 weeks later, he turned around and blocked it, at the request of the White House.
As a result, the bipartisan bill, which imposes mandatory sanctions over China's continued incursions into Hong Kong's internal affairs, is stalled on Capitol Hill even as it has broad bipartisan support. The episode, which had not been previously reported, underscores the uphill battle for Congress's China hawks as they push the Trump administration to punish Beijing over an array of issues, from Hong Kong to the coronavirus pandemic. Chaser, Trump National Security Advisor compares Xi Jinping to Joseph Stalin, by Daniel Lippman. MEDIAWATCH, Jeremy Barr is joining WAPO as a breaking news features reporter. He previously was a senior media writer at The Hollywood Reporter. WAPO. Patricia Pert is now the vice president of weekend booking at Fox News. Ad Week. Send tips to Eli Okun and Garrett Ross at Politico Playbook at Politico.com. Transition, Julie McLean Downey is now interim senior comms director at Planned Parenthood. She previously was director of state comms for Cory Booker's presidential campaign, and is an Emily's List and Hillary for America alum. New, Mike Schmuel, Pete Buttigieg's former campaign manager, is joining Heartland Ventures. Announcement. Birthday of the day, Dan Myers, Senior Director of Public Affairs and Head of Advocacy at APCO Worldwide. A trend he thinks doesn't get enough attention. I feel the rise in overall activism is often overlooked, even on a global scale. While we are living through some divisive times domestically, I take some comfort in people's ability and desire to participate, stand up and be counted, and take action, regardless of the issue. Playbook Q&A. Birthdays, Justice Sonia Sotomayor is 66. Cameron Daravi, Policy Advisor at the Domestic Policy Council. CNN's Betsy Klein. James Meredith is 87. Jeremy Bearer Friend. Carlos Muñiz. Narrative Strategies Patrick O'Connor, John Randall, SVP at BCW Global. Kathleen Shannon. Jackie Bradford, President and General Manager of NBC4 Chris Lapatina. Laurent Crenshaw, who is spending the weekend cruising the California coast with his wife Nikki and their dog Fraser, is 40.
Dan Spinelli of Mother Jones. Danielle Doheny. Matt Felling, Comms Director for Senator Angus King, I Maine. Corbett Daly. FT's Patrick Temple West. Josh Leahy, Founding Partner at Lot 16. Tita Thompson Freeman, former Representative Leonard Lance, RNJ, is 68, former Representative Carolyn Cheeks-Kilpatrick, D. Mich, is 75. Politico's Hank Hoffman.
Ryan Long, Deputy Staff Director for the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Politico Europe's Emma Anderson and Thibault Larger. Johannes Behrens, Trice Jacobson of the Charles Koch Institute. Taylor Halsey is 31. Michael Napolitano, Alan McQuinn, Junior Thornton, Zach Fannin, Eric Lidmer, Alberto Cardenas, Annika Christensen, Professional Staff Member for the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Dems, H.T. Jared Crum, N.Y. Post's Reuben Fenton. John Heilprin, Abby Sorrentino, L.D. for Representative Joe Morell, D.N.Y. Gretchen Yelmini, Brian Bernies, James Crown is 67. John Alexander Nicholson, Mike Gerke, Scott Zumwalt, Managing Director at Bully Pulpit Interactive, is 36. John Carson. Jason Stephanie, H.T.S. Teresa Vilmain. Martha Vakelich Austin, Maura Siegel, John Fisher of NBC News PR. Kerry Rice, Gracia Mahoney is 24. H.T. Sister Catria.